This episode is dedicated to the memory of my co-host of Chaos, Amos. Thanks for all the laughs and the broken toe. You have stumbled upon or perhaps intentionally ended up here at my podcast, Actual Leigh. No matter the path that led you here, I hope that you will hang out and join me for a truly enjoyable conversation. Let's get started. Hey everybody, welcome to Actual Leigh. I am finally starting to come out of hiatus, and I thought that I would just do one of my sort of like update, catch up, just me episodes to kind of kick off the next set of episodes. I would say like season, but it's not, I don't really do seasons. I just kind of, like my life gets chaotic and I can't make shit for a while. And yeah, I guess it'd be like the season of the Leigh, kind of, rather than like season one, season two. It's like season of the moldy apartment, season of the gallbladder ejection, season of the really crappy landlord, season of the RV. Anyway, I don't know why as soon as I start recording, my nose started itching like right here. It's like it wasn't doing that before. It's like, oh, you're recording? Let's look like we're picking our nose. Yeah. So I think the last time I did one of these was like the beginning of the year, and I was getting ready to have my gallbladder out, and I was like, this year I'm gonna blah blah blah, I'm gonna things and the stuff, and then my life kind of went ha ha, and it's been a couple of months of just a lot of things. So I already have 4 sessions recorded that will break down into, I think, 7 or 8 episodes, maybe more like 10, because one of those sessions I think we recorded for 4 hours. And yeah, so I'm really excited to get those all edited. Okay, I'm not excited about the editing part. I'm excited about the sharing part, like just to keep it accurate. But I am looking forward to getting it all edited and not having it on my plate anymore, and then being able to share it, and the 3 of you that listen will get to listen. And yeah, so let's see. I got my gallbladder out in January. I don't remember if I talked about that or not. Um, it was all in all like not a bad experience because I woke up from the surgery and my pain was managed, like I was in pain, but it was like what I always imagined surgery pain would feel like, which is it's not great, but managed. And that's pretty much the first time that I've ever had a surgery where they didn't use a nerve block and my pain was managed. With nerve blocks, the pain management is a lie. They're just trying to get you out there and you get home and then it wears off a couple hours later. It's supposed to wear off like a day later, but it's usually like 6 hours for me. And then the pain's really bad again. Um, so that was really nice. And it had this like completely different experience, like mental health wise, in terms of like what it was like to go through the surgery. Because instead of like spending that first week just like in agony going, I just need to get through this initial stage of inflammation and then things will get easier, I didn't have to go through that. Like I knew that that process was happening and I could feel it, but it was just so much easier. um and then after that, when I stopped taking the NSAIDs, I did start having some like crazy symptoms and stuff from my GI system. Just was like very irritated. So I was like having spasms and weird pain. And there was like an area on my right side that only recently has stopped bothering me as much, that I think it was just inflammation. Um in the surgery area or maybe around like where the clips were or something like that. And I couldn't like sitting like I'm sitting in a recliner right now. And when I would sit like this and sit reclined, there was any sort of pressure on my midsection. I would get this pain that would start down there. And then if I didn't get up and like kind of move around to interrupt it, it would increase until I had like this nerve pain that was coming all the way up into my jaw and my ear. And that was really uncomfortable. And it would happen if I slept flat in bed or if I was sitting in bed, like with a pillow, raising my head up so I could like read a book or something. So it was like I couldn't really stream. I couldn't really do a lot of comfortable things um, because of that pain, or I would do them and then I would be in that pain. But thankfully that got better. I kind of figured it would. And then my GI stuff has just been it's a process, right? Like some people they come out of the surgery and everything, their gut just doesn't care. And I kind of like wonder what's going on with their gut, that their gut didn't care about the fact that they're not breaking fat down, that they're not that they're not breaking stuff down and getting the nutrients the way that they normally would because they can't. There's no like there's no the way the gallbladder works is it stores all this bile, and when you eat the right thing or the wrong thing or whatever to trigger the gallbladder, it's gonna like dump a bunch and it's of bile and it's completely based on what you eat, how much it's gonna dump, right? So you don't get that anymore when you don't have the gallbladder. Some doctors will say, well, eventually the liver does that. It doesn't. It's a constant stream. It doesn't change. Sometimes you end up making more, sometimes you end up making less. And both of those can cause different issues, but you're not digesting your food correctly after your gallbladder's out. And they've only, I've talked about this before, but they've only recently started to actually look into what happens to the body after the gallbladder is removed. So, um, basically there's like no understanding until more recently that, you're not breaking the food down correctly. You're not going to get all the nutrients from the fats and stuff like that that you would have before. And, maybe it's a small difference or it takes time to really see the ramifications of it, but the ramifications are still there, right? So people are like, oh, I have no symptoms whatsoever. It just makes me kind of wonder what's going on with their gut. Um, I'd say like most people, it seems like have a little bit, like if you eat too much fat, you get some discomfort or whatever. And then there's people who have like a whole, like their system is just like, oh, the bile, oh, and gets all dramatic. And those people, their guts have issues too. I think the people that are in the middle, that in my opinion, based on everything I read, is probably a more healthy gut reaction because something has changed. And when you have like the fat and you're not breaking it down, it's yeah. So anyway, um, I if I have like really heavy food, I absolutely feel it the next day. I'm lucky that I don't have the instantaneous like run to the bathroom experience that some people report. I think it's because my gut's a little on the slow side. So it's more like the next day and the day after. But my gastric emptying has also gotten better because of the surgery. And I don't know like if that's because the surgery irritated my gut. And so like the the irritation is causing things to move quicker. And so I'm getting the benefit of that when in actuality it's like a form of irritation, or if it literally like my digestion was impacted because of my gallbladder misbehaving, or I'm never going to know. It's just going to be like a, and it has been nice to have like, uh, just a more distinct understanding of what my gut's doing because my gut was kind of vague. I was always just, I don't really know what's going on. Do I have to go to the bathroom? Do I have to like, and now it's like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. Okay. And then I go to the bathroom. It's no thing. And it had been like in the last decade since my health issues, it was just, everything was just vague. Um, and I just started having a lot more energy pretty quickly after the surgery. Um, when I say a lot more, I don't mean like I suddenly am healthy and don't have chronic fatigue syndrome anymore. I just more energy than I've had in quite a while. So that was really nice. And then I was like, healing from the surgery while dealing with the mold issue at the old place, I've since moved. And um it's just, it's like healing from surgery while I'm stuck in the front room. I have no privacy. My sleep is broken because my housemate's schedule. And then like the landlord rental management property was not responding. Like I would send emails and be like, hey, blah, blah, blah. And they wouldn't respond. There was like zero acknowledgement. And I don't know why. Like, I, I don't know if like they just thought because they're working on it on their side that they didn't have to communicate with us. But like, I don't know. So anyway, we decided to move, and so it was like right after surgery. I'm like trying to find a place, coordinating the move, and like, and I'm doing that for two people. My housemates, if you tell him to do something, he'll do it within like if it's like, hey, can you move this box? But um, looking for places and applying and that was all me and coordinating the move, getting my friends to help move both of us and stuff. It was like a lot after the surgery, plus like months of not sleeping well. And it just wiped me out. It really wiped me out. And I was having some social issues at the same time. I made friends with somebody, I was starting to make friends with somebody who I guess in his mind we were already friends because we'd had a couple conversations, but that's not me. It takes me a really long time to really connect with somebody and be like, that person is friend because I started making connections online really early in my life and I learned how to socialize that way. And I learned very quickly that those connections, however nice they are, don't necessarily mean friend, don't necessarily mean that this person is someone that I can invest in and be vulnerable with and all of that stuff. And, it just takes time for me to trust the connection to be like, okay, this person is actually in my life and is going to be around for a while. And I don't, I think sometimes it's not clear to people that I'm like that because I'm a very open person. So I can talk about anything with anybody. I can be at the bus stop and talk to that person about something that most people would consider incredibly like private. And it just doesn't, to me, like everything that I experience in my life is human. And as such, it's relevant and shareable. Because somebody else has experienced it. Not everybody may experience it, but somebody else has experienced it. And even when I feel shame around things, I'm not gonna like, you know, the only stuff that I keep to myself are things that I'm worried are going to hurt somebody else. Like sharing my trauma. That has been really hard for me because I don't want to be a burden. And I kind of feel like everybody else's experiences are more important than mine. Um, So, like I have a lot of shame around that and sharing would probably help a little bit with that. But I also, I just don't want to put that weight on other people unless they ask for it. I just, so that's kind of where my line is, but it's not because of the shame. It's the awareness of the weight of the thing. And, you can be like, but no, 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 you're not a burden or whatever. Come on, when we're talking to people and they're telling us this heavy shit, it does impact us. It doesn't mean that we mind the impact or resent it or regret it, but it does. And I'm not going to put that on other people unless they consent to it. It's just, I think that matters, you know? Um, I do sometimes trauma dump without realizing that's what I'm doing because I'm talking about an experience that for me is normal. And I don't know that to somebody else, that's like a trauma thing. But that's like different. And I've talked about it before where I feel like other people are not always as open or receptive or accepting of other people's realities. And I think that there is definitely like a gray zone line, like a blurry gray line there, where some things could sound like trauma to one person and not necessarily be for another. And that if we are a little more present and listening when somebody's sharing that stuff, we can accept that their reality instead of changing the focus of the conversation to be about our perception of that person's experience. Um, I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Like when other people start pushing their perception of my experiences on me. Like my perception of my experiences is what matters, and everybody else's perceptions might be of interest depending on the conversation. But if I'm sharing, if I'm venting about my situation, or I'm just talking about something, my perception should be what is taken into account, instead of the other person changing the topic to be about their perception, because that's uncomfortable. It's like, and I know people don't think about it like that. They don't even realize they're doing it, but they are. They're totally changing the topic and making it about them and making it about their discomfort. And there's going to be like that middle ground for navigating that stuff where there's like compassion and acceptance, you know? And maybe with people that have more experience with communicating and therapy and all that, maybe that exists, and I just don't have enough of that in my life or something. But yeah, anyways, so like the social thing was hard because I got really confused. I was really uncomfortable. My boundaries kept being pushed. And I was like, I could tell that this person was really genuine and really like coming from like a good place. I didn't feel like they were trying to manipulate me or anything weird like that. It was just like we weren't, you know, um, it's like we had very different ways of communicating, and I am a very independent person, okay? And if I need help, I will ask. I have done a lot of work to learn how to be better about that, in the context of like my disabilities and, respecting my needs, like when I'm tired or don't want to injure myself or whatever. And the people who know me pretty well know that I will ask for help. And so they know not to offer it. Um, in a like stepping in, oh, let me help you with that kind of thing. Um, sometimes people will be like, hey, just let me know if you need help or whatever. And every now and again, that's okay. Every year or something, a reminder to let me know. That's cool. But it was like kind of all the time that I was, like I would talk about something in a post or in my Discord that I was thinking about or going through or dealing with. And then I would get a DM disconnected from that message without any acknowledgement of the message, the post that I made, being like, hey, if you need help, blah, blah, blah. And it was like a couple times a week. It was like happening regularly. And this was after having a conversation in which I had already said, don't try to help. I will ask for help. Don't get involved when I'm doing stuff. Trust that if I don't know what to do or if it's something I can't do, I will ask. But otherwise, I'm already like on top of it, because when people try to help me, when I'm already focused on a solution, and I already have like a path to deal with whatever it is I'm dealing with in my life, a lot of times they get in my way. There's several steps behind me. What they're suggesting is in my brain, it's like irrelevant because I either didn't think of it because it's not going to help. So it didn't even register, or I thought about it and evaluated and went, "But that's not it," and had already decided. And when it's something that's just me, there's no, I don't make space for other people until I need help. And then I can step back. But I'm still probably going to drive the direction that things are going because I'm really good at that. I'm extremely efficient at things and very good at planning stuff. So, you know, I don't usually need other people's brain power. I need their brawn, I guess. Um, and if somebody knows how to do something better than me, if they can brain through it better than me, I will step back. That's not a problem. It's not an ego thing. It's literally like I'm going to make this as easy on me and the person helping me as possible by doing what I do well. It's, you know, also if someone's going to do something in a way that isn't correct, then it's not helpful anyways. So, you know, um, and I just kept being like uncomfortable because this person kept offering me help when I had already said that when I need help, I will ask for it. And I could tell that like this is just like his programming, that he's very used to being helpful and anticipating people's needs. And I think that like offering help was his way of not overstepping, but still giving into that need in himself to be helpful. Um, right. And so like for me, he was crossing the boundary, but for him, he was trying to still do what he would normally do without doing what he normally did. So it was just really confusing. And I realized, like, as I was getting increasingly more and more stressed out and unable to engage with other people because I was using all of my energy on this situation, that it just wasn't like a good dynamic for me. Like, um, that it would have been a lot of work to figure out how to be friends with this person and relax. Like I didn't feel like I could relax because every time I said anything about my reality, he's trying to fix it. And I can't, that's not kind, it's not compassionate. It feels like a lack of acceptance. And then it also feels like a lack of trust because I had said if I need help, I'll ask for it. And once a person has made themselves like available to me, if I think they can help me, I will go to them and I will ask for help. But different people, different skill sets, or different people, different comfort levels. Some people I'm going to be more comfortable being more vulnerable with for certain types of help than other people, right? So, if I don't come to you, you're not the right person. And nothing personal, just not the right person. So I don't know, that used like a month of energy. Um, and I don't make new friends very often. I don't really let people in very often. And I'm not perfect. Plus, you can't always do everything right for everybody, right? Like what I perceive to be problematic, somebody else may be fine with. So, it's that's why I always say that language is it's like sort of the foundation, but between any two people, it's just the start, and then you have to build a unique language with that person because our understandings of words, our understandings of relationships between words and concepts and stuff could be a little different, could be very different, could be, and so we can't go into, I mean, we shouldn't go into a conversation with someone that we haven't established a language with, assuming that we mean the same thing. And I think that that's sort of like a danger zone problem thing. There's a word I can't that a lot of people, probably most people, I don't know, I haven't looked into it, uh, do is they speak English, I speak English, therefore our understandings of things are the same, you know? I mean, it's it's kind of baked into nationalism and all that shit, right? And I don't approach communication that way. I have a little more curiosity, and I do get in trouble because I am honest about the fact that, like I'll be like, I don't think that's what that means, or whatever. Or I'll just be honest that they said something and the way it's hitting isn't hitting me the way that I think they mean. Like I can see the implied intent, but that's not how it hit. And so I'll be honest about that. And some people are like, "Oh, let me reiterate." And then some people, they get mad at you. Like, "How dare you accuse me of blah blah blah." I'm like, I'm not accusing you. I'm telling you how my brain heard it. Okay? So yeah, anyway. And I'm not trying to gossip or shit talk about that person. It's the situation just messed with my head for quite a while, and it used a tremendous amount of energy. It impacted my sleep. And it just took me a while to realize that it was because I was trying to accommodate this person because I perceived them as being authentically interested and wanting to be helpful. And I was like, well, if I can just kind of figure them out, I will be able to be okay. And then it was taxing me in this way that I couldn't. It was so stressful. And it was my bandwidth was totally eaten up by like everything going on in my life. And I think also my tolerance for putting myself into boxes for other people has just kind of dwindled to very, very mild, small, little, not too much. Um, and yeah, I just really tired of telling people things and then they turn around and do it again and then act like I'm the problem. It's like if I tell you I don't like eggs, cooking them in a different way is not going to make me like them more, you know? Um, and I do like eggs, just I'm just using it as an example. It just, yeah, I don't know. It's like people think it's hard, and being a person is hard. And then trying to be a person while peopling, it's just like a lot. So if you feel like you're having a hard time making friends, it's just hard. It's not you. It's everything. It's everybody. It's the limitation of the fact that we're not telepathic, that we're so isolated in our brains and we're so prone to like magnifying ourselves into something. It's like it makes it really hard to connect. And then like we're all so bombarded and overstimulated and just all the time. Like social media has totally eaten up the idleness that drives creativity and the need to like connect, right? And there's people who probably think they are connecting because they talk to people online and Eh, like a little, but you're not getting the benefit that comes from inhuman connection of being part of a tribe. Because the in-person stuff, the physical contact, the being in person talking where you can hear the voice on your eardrum and feel their body moving the air as they move around and that's all like this information that like impacts our nervous system, and that interaction and stuff triggers our body to release chemicals we're not going to get at all or to the same degree online, and that has like a detrimental effect, like I've talked about it before with having a dopamine deficiency that doesn't just impact how my brain works. It has a damaging effect, a stress effect, and it's like having um like a nutritional uh, deficit that you might not feel sick from it right away, but eventually you will, and it'll have impacts. A good example of that is my manganese. levels are low. Most people have never even heard of manganese. You get it from like oatmeal and other stuff like that. And is very low. So I start supplementing and I went to just at the line of normal and low. And then now I'm still supplementing and now I'm low again. And um, manganese helps with a couple of different things. One of them, it can, if you're low, your sense of balance goes off. You're more likely to fall and feel clumsy, like going up and down the stairs, kind of scary. And when my levels got more normal, all of a sudden I started feeling like more like myself. I tend to be clumsy, but I'm really good at catching myself. And it was like I wasn't catching myself so well. I was hurting myself when I was doing it. And then it also is involved with like bone health. And I'm pretty sure that my manganese has been low for over a decade. Because when my health issue started, one of the things that started happening is my nails got really like thin and they would rip. Instead of breaking, they like rip. And they usually like rip like down here on the side of my thumb. And it's so fucking rude. I hate it. It is the worst. I don't, and you can like glue it and put the paper and whatever, and it kind of helps, but then that catches on. It's just rude, okay? Um, but one of the long-term ramifications of having low manganese is having losing bone density. And I, in the last year, have had several X-rays that have shown significant demineralization of my bones, which a couple years ago was not the case. So that's great, but um, that example of having this deficit for a prolonged period of time is where you start to see like these ramifications. Hey, it's kind of a theme because I was talking about that with the gallbladder stuff. But anyway, so socializing, you get, I think that it kind of works the same way. And like the longer you go without that stuff, the worse it is for you. I know like back in 2017, I started having in-person socializing a little more. And I did actually start to feel better. It didn't fix my health issues, but um like it was like I had less stress, and stress is plays a big component in my symptoms because it increases inflammation and all that stuff. And I did start to feel like healthier when I had like regular um, physical contact in my life, like getting hugs and stuff like that. It was nice, and I can definitely feel the difference not having that stuff in my life. Um, so yeah, there was I had another point that was like baked in there, and I have added so many layers, and the ADHD is like we can. So I can't remember exactly what my point was, but I agree with it 100%. Um, so yeah, just peopling hard. Anyway, so the last couple of months have been and I have been we moved into a new place. It's quirky, kind of like quirky. It was built in 1860. It's it's got an interesting layout and nice lighting. It's relatively quiet. My plants are really happy. Like my orchids have just started blooming and they haven't done that for years. So that's exciting and stuff. But the house, it has issues. And you're like, oh, no, Leigh, how could it possibly be that you would move into a place and it would have issues? It just, how could it be? It just keeps happening. It's like a series of unfortunate houses. Like, um, so I knew because it's old, it was going to have things like it was going to be harder to keep warm. Grew up poor. That's I can deal with that. You can put shit on the windows, you hang up blankets in doorways. There's things you can do to like minimize some of the costs around heating up your house. Um, and I figured the garage might have some issues in the winter just because and it's kind of smelled like that. And then that was kind of it. Those were the like the big things, and everything else is shit like, the old windows don't close all the way, and it's stuff that like, I'll either figure out how to close, or I'll put in like weather stripping or whatever. Nothing major. Um or nothing, to me, all stuff that's like reasonable. But instead what ended up happening is I spent 2 months or so really, really sick and having symptoms that were not normal for me. Um, Plus my other symptoms were being like aggravated, and I was just like, what is going on? And I couldn't think straight. Like my brain was just super like wonky, and I was just like, I don't know. And I went overnight for a doctor's. I had a test early in the morning, so I stayed overnight, and the next day I just felt so much better. Just like so much better. I was like, that seems like something, right? Could be placebo. Maybe I'm distracted because I'm not at home. Because, like if you're sitting in it, if you're sitting and not feeling well, it can amplify it. It's like that's part of why I like having the TV on or music on or whatever, because it creates like a layer of stimulation, and then I don't focus on things to the same extent. It's especially helpful with palpitations. But I was like, it was like shaky. I was short of breath all the time. I was uncomfortable wearing a mask when I went out because I couldn't catch my breath. Just standing, I would be short of breath. And I was just like, am I like, uh, am I going to die? Like, what is happening? This is way worse than normal. How come I have surgery that generally makes me feel better? And at the old place, I was like walking on my treadmill every day because I have more energy since the surgery. Then I moved to this place, and I'm struggling to walk a block. I'm just like wiped. Um, so I ended up getting an air quality monitor from this place in the UK. I've wanted one for years, but they're expensive, and then like the ones that are more affordable are not like accurate um or reliable. So it's been one of those things I've kind of just kept my eye on. But the market has shifted a little bit, and there are some that are a little more reliable. You still need to know the quirks and know when to recalibrate and stuff like that. But I got this one brand from like Air Gradient, I think is the brand. If I remember, I'll put a link because I think the company is really cool. They're super transparent. They're super nerdy about stuff. I've been emailing with them some questions, and they've been very helpful and responsive. And they want to like educate people, and then they're also like, what do you call it? Social powering. No, no. Crowdsourcing air quality data. There's a couple of other companies that do that as well, but I think it's cool that they're doing it. And they have a map, and if you have an outdoor monitor, you can have your data sent to that. I would love to get an outdoor monitor someday. I don't need it. I want it. Okay. Because I want to help. But they're like $400 or something. So, but anyway, so I got the air quality monitor, and the first thing it told me is that the CO2 is catastrophically high in the house, kind of like all the time, unless I open the windows. And so I played with that a little bit because that's not good. And it was not like, hey, it's a little high, because some houses it's a little high when you're sleeping if your window's not open, but it's not like it's enough that you might feel a little groggy when you first wake up, but it's not enough to like fuck you up. This was like, you should avoid this. This is not good, okay? So I started playing with it, and I figured out literally if I'm in my bedroom and I shut the door, or sorry, shut the window, within 15 minutes the CO2 is already in the this isn't great level, and then like the longer it goes on, the higher it gets. So I ended up rabbit holing about air quality stuff in an area that I've never really looked into. Like I've looked into like mold and moisture and things like that. But I hadn't really ever looked into ventilation because I hadn't really had to deal with that. Like I generally am more comfortable if everything's closed and I have my HEPA filters running. Um, but in this house, it's the exact opposite. My HEPA filters are like, we feel neglected. Uh, but yeah, so I learned that CO2 issues can happen in any house, but in older houses like this is, like I mentioned, 1860, it doesn't have like a drywall. It doesn't have like the gap between each side with the drywall. And some of that allows for breathing airflow, right? So you get a little bit of an air exchange, whereas CO2 has somewhere to go. And then in my bedroom they installed new windows, and new windows lower how much like air leakage, so that's less airflow. So basically older houses are just not as safe in that way, and you have to plan for it. I learned that in the UK, they ended up making like a building code that if you replace your old windows in your old building with new modern windows that have less of the airflow stuff, basically creating a better seal, that it is required that you install something called a trickle vent. Um, and you try to look up information for trickle vents. It's pretty much all like European websites, and not here. They're not. I'm sure there's places that install them. There's probably window companies that, you know, but it's not talked about a lot. Air quality in general is not talked about a lot in the US. Some buildings have vents in the bathroom or in the kitchen, but a lot don't. Like this place does not have a vent in the kitchen. It has a filter, and it doesn't do anything. The filter's not even good enough to deal with any of the cooking smells. It's completely fucking like placebo. It's pointless, and it actually pushes all of what it sucks up, it just kind of pushes it upstairs. So then the air quality upstairs gets really, really bad. Like the T-Vox just like go through the ceiling if I'm like cooking something like sauteing with oil or whatever. And that's like you normally will see that, but it's just if you have a vent that helps control it. We just open the windows. We create like a throughway with two windows across the room from each other. But yeah, it's just not, a lot of people don't understand why it's important, um, and that it is important. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about this before, but like in like some third world countries, people are like cooking and living in these spaces that don't have ventilation, and that they have like these much higher incidences of like heart and lung related health issues like cancer and emphysema and other stuff. And it's because they don't have access to what we have, ventilation and stuff. So when people who live here don't use those tools, I'm like, that's crazy. Use the tools. They're there for a reason. We didn't just like, oh, we're just going to install this hole through the wall that goes to the ceiling because we thought it was cool. No, it protects us. But so I've been rabbit holing on the CO2, kind of learning how to manage it. Right now, the only thing I can do is keep the windows open, which is irritating because that with the dual pane, it helps a lot with the noise. And so I'm having like noise, plus it allows like humidity in. Like my bedroom was like 70% last night, which is it's not great. Um, and then the attic has some air quality issues. It's not really clear if the issues are because they put a new roof on or if it's just that there's something stinky in there. Um, but the ceiling is just wood beams that have been painted. It's kind of like the wood floor, but on the ceiling, and it's just been painted. And that's all it is. There isn't anything else. There's no plywood or like wood going the opposite direction or anything. It's just the wood the bedroom, the attic, and of course, paint is not it's not an air barrier. It loves the air, but it's not an air barrier. And then there's the cracks because the house moves, and so the air in the attic just comes into the house. And then the hatch is in my housemate's room, and it's literally like dropping debris when the air comes through because it's coming through so strongly. And so there's a pressure thing going on, right? Where the air pressure in the house is like lower than outside. Not always, but most of the time. We had a couple of days last week where the air pressure shifted, and then like we weren't having any of the usual problems. But the fumes are like tarry, tar. I don't know. The roofer's like, we didn't use tar. I don't know what it is. And that only comes in through his room. And then there's another smell that's the sort of patented attic smell of like old, dry, hot wood. That sounded dirtier than I meant it to, but and that smell doesn't bother me as much. I don't It bothers me that I'm smelling it in the sense I feel like I shouldn't be breathing that, but it's not an annoying smell. The other fumes are completely like they're very uncomfortable. They like the cat, he'll come and get on me and he just reeks. And it's just like it doesn't seem healthy. So I put the air quality monitor in there and the HEPA filter that has like an air quality monitor in it as well. And the T-Vox were just jumping up sky high every time the air those fumes were coming in. Um, and measuring T-Vox is information, but it's in specific information. You don't know which chemicals are there. Some are bad, some are not great, and some of them they don't really matter. But high concentration is never good, right? It's moderation. Um, so I I've been trying to figure it out. I was like, okay, maybe I can just put up like PVC tiles on the roof or on the ceiling because the landlord said as long as we're just using adhesive, she doesn't really care. And then I'm like, that's going to be like $400+ per room. And like, it's like I was trying to fix all of these issues without reporting them to the landlord. Like, is there a way for me to deal with this, right? Like the CO2 stuff, I'm not sure if I'm ever gonna like report that because I don't know if that's like it's like I feel like it's something she should care about, but I don't know that because they can be like, well, just open the window. And even though I would argue that if you have to keep your window open year round, that means that you can't control the air quality in your house in other meaningful ways, including humidity, which is quite important. But like this other stuff is like I couldn't fix it. And as I mentioned earlier, the garage ended up having more issues. Basically it has like moisture issues that are like constant. So we've been running like a dehumidifier to control it because when it started raining, it got really bad and the mold spores were like really prolific in there. And it wasn't like there was any one spot where there was like a leak and it was molding. The mold was in the air because the humidity in the air and the air is so stagnant in there. It just sits there. So I started running a dehumidifier and a HEPA filter, and it kind of helped. But what really helped was the UVC light. One of my friends got me a UVC light, and I have used that shit out of that thing on all kinds of stuff. It's super effective. So I ran it down there for about 3 hours and an hour each time in different spots. And after that, the mold smell was completely gone. And all I could smell was wet concrete. And I was like, okay, well, that pretty much confirms to me that this constant moisture issue and that it's the cinder blocks because there's like the wood walls and then underneath that is the cinder blocks. And on one side, the cinder blocks are completely underground level, and on the other side, it's kind of mixed. And if you look at the cinder blocks, they have that crystallized, salty looking stuff on there. It's called like efference or something like that. I know what the word looks like. I don't know how to say it. And if you see that on concrete or cinder block or whatever, that is a sign of a moisture issue, that moisture is coming through, and that there's a lot of it, like prolonged. So I asked the landlord if we could deal with that because I feel like that's important. And she was like, it's if you want to do it, you can do it. So I know how to fix it, how to make it better. And I did try to explain it to her, but she didn't. She just called it painting. It's not painting. Um, it's sealing. It is sealing the words, the cinder blocks against the moisture. And you use a specific product that goes in, gets in the little holes and everything, and just creates this water barrier that holds the water out up to a certain psi. So if there's like a bad flood or something, water is going to seep through. But for just sort of regular shit that's happening, um, it should be fine. And there's no sign of like water leaking into the garage anywhere. So I don't think like flooding is a problem. So just I have to go and like clean all the cinder blocks and then seal them. And I said I would do it if we're staying here. It's a lot of work and it's not cheap. It's probably materials are probably gonna be like $500, but I think it's absolutely worth it if I like where I live. And I generally like where I live, but the attic issue, which I've been kind of like focused on other stuff while trying to deal with it, thinking, well, maybe the off gassing will go away. Maybe it'll get better. It is not getting better. And when I realized that I was unwell because of the air quality issues where I'm living, I was like, okay, I have to say something. This isn't just my problem anymore. This is bigger than me. Um, so I did let the landlord know about it last week. She freaked out on me and it made me cry, but um, they are coming this Friday with a specialist to look at the space to potentially seal it. Basically, the roofer was like, yeah, it shouldn't be open anyways. And said that they would, if they were going to fix it, they would go in and seal and put down plastic and then they put insulation over that. Um, so we'll see. And if they fix that, then like we stay. And that's cool because we're in a great location. We're close to downtown. We can like walk around. It's quiet. My plants are happy. And yeah, I'm gonna have to do the garage work. And that's kind of a bummer. But at the same time, I really like doing that kind of work. And when I was a healthy person, I did that job. Like my favorite job was working in a data center where I was doing like lifting shit and fixing shit and just constantly. And I moved into an apartment during that time when I was working at a data center that I ended up like fixing it up, like changing out the windows and sanding and painting the walls and waxing and sealing the floors and all just, it was like just yeah, I made it like way better and I love doing that stuff. So, I'm gonna be like, oh man, I gotta do that, and it's gonna take away from me doing other stuff. But then I'm gonna be doing it, and I'm gonna be like, yeah, I'm doing it. And when it's done, it'll be awesome. Um, I'll try to document it and share it. But and I am gonna send information to my landlord about what I'm actually doing so that she'll have a more technical understanding of it. Because I think she's just being very like literal with the laws and being like, well, it's not a living space, it's your sensitivity. I don't have to deal with it. But the garage is like physically underneath the house. It's the same floor space just underneath. And the floor is the same as the ceiling upstairs in the sense that that is the only barrier between the garage and the first floor is the wood floor that has the gaps and stuff. And it is sealed, but it's not air sealed. Uh, and So whatever the garage is doing, whatever the garage smells like, the house smells like that. The HEPA filters help a lot with that, but the HEPA filters aren't stopping the exposure. They're controlling the impact of the exposure. So, ideally, the air quality down there would be dealt with. And I don't care that it's not a living space. It is so connected to this living space that I believe that it should be a concern. But not only that, but like these issues, the attic issue, the moisture issue in the garage, fixing these things are valid investments in the longevity of a building that's already really fucking old and um increases the value. Like when you weatherize and put insulation into your attic, it increases the value of your building. If you seal up and have like a nice clean foundation on and all that, people really like that. It increases the value and it shows that you protect and took care of it. When I went to sell my house, part of the attraction, it wasn't the neighborhood, it was the fact that I took good care of it. And you could see the signs that even though I didn't get a chance to fix up the kitchen and it needed like modern touches and stuff, all the like little functional things that sort of like impact the house, like like I put in a sump pump in the crawl space and just like all these other things. It's like, the people that were applying to buy the house were all saying that it was really clear that I paid attention and took good care of it. And I think that sometimes people kind of nickel and dime on things that are important and shouldn't be nickel and dimed. Um, but I think that, well, there's the people that do that on purpose because they just don't fucking care. They're just going to run something into the ground, squeeze out as much money as they can, and then walk away from it. And then there's the people like my landlord who I think they just don't know. They're not educated about this stuff yet. And so they don't realize the economic benefits to not only protecting the tenants, but protecting their building. So, and I think that's something that could be taught more. There could be classes out there, but I think it's just more of like an open conversation around like air quality and like all this stuff. Because people, there's a lot of misinformation. Like you'll see like, well, the only mold that's bad is black mold, and it's not true. Like there are molds that are more associated with toxicity issues. But all molds can be bad if you're sensitive to them, and all molds can be bad in high concentrations, right? So like it's not black and white. It's not this mold is good and this mold is bad. Um, there are just degrees, and it's very much like situational, and always like with the TVOX, too much is bad, you know? And this was the argument that I had with the landlord who, when I reported the leak coming in the wall, like when it rained, so the water was literally coming in to the wall, and she's like, mold is everywhere. It's not a problem. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how that works. And there's molds that are very excited to grow that do not grow in your house unless something's wrong. And that matters too, it anyway. So if all goes well, I will be getting my ADHD meds soon. And I'm pretty excited about that. I'm worried that my body's going to be an asshole and be like, we don't like this anymore. And you're not allowed to have that benefit anymore. But, my cardiologist is on board. She's super excited. I talked to her today, and she's like the one doctor who's like excited that I'm going to get my fucking Adderall again because she saw how much it helped me. Like the rate of PVC, the burden of my PVCs dropped when I was on the Adderall, right? Like because my stress lowered, because I felt better. So yeah. So next week I should be getting the prescription. Then assuming I can get it filled, I'm just gonna put it on my credit card and I'm gonna start feeling better again. So that'll be nice. I mean, I might not the my these type of episodes might be less like this. I don't know. I mean, when I first started my podcast, I was on Adderall, but I was a little more linear. I feel like I'm more like like now when I record by myself, I never feel like I talk about what I intended to talk about, and I just commit. And sometimes it bothers me. I have a hard time sleeping. I'll be like, oh, I shouldn't have talked about that. Or if that person knows that that was about them, and then they'll be mad at me, even though I'm not saying anything untrue or unkind. So at that point, it's not my problem. But it's just, I don't know. I just commit to it because this is my brain, this is me, this is how I am right now. And when the Adderall starts to help me a little more focused, then that'll be me too. So yeah, I I have that programming, like when I babble a lot, like I just did, like holy shit. I'm not gonna remember later. I'll be like, I'm pretty sure I talked about the house. What else did I talk about? But I always want to apologize. Like I want to apologize for being me. I want to apologize and just be like, I am so sorry that my mouth works and that my brain doesn't. Fuck. But I don't. I don't. Um Sometimes if I'm hanging out with somebody and I do that, because I can do this in person if they don't talk a lot, they don't interrupt me, I will go. I'll be like, oh, there's a person and they're listening and they're looking at me and I'm like, yeah, and I get so excited and then I'm like, and like I had a friend who I would do that with her sometimes for hours, 3, 4 hours, until she started to look tired and then she would go to bed. And and then I would be like, I'm sorry I talked so much. I'm sorry I didn't make space for you or whatever. And she's like, no, I love it. It's so relaxing. And so, like there's a it's a I'm trying to find the words. I've been like fidgeting with a tissue this whole time. I just keep wrapping around my different fingers. Um, Instead of, even though I feel self-conscious and maybe guilty and sometimes a little ashamed of being like this, even though this just is me and it's not like I can be someone else, right? Um, that I put some of the responsibility on other people to communicate their needs, to interject, and to set boundaries, right? So like that way, even though I have all these feelings, I can recognize that it's not all my responsibility. If someone else is uncomfortable and they're not telling me, I can't, how can I anticipate that? How can I feel responsible for something someone hasn't told me? And then even within that, it's like how much of that is that we just aren't compatible and how much of that is that we can like sort of navigate and find a compromise, right? Like um so I try to keep that in mind because it's helpful when I start to feel very uncomfortable in my skin because I was just being myself. Um, and to just be like, it's other people's choice to be exposed to me. If you're listening to this, if you've gotten to this part of the episode, you did that to yourself. I didn't do it. Okay, it's your fault. So it's the and it's like I have to, that's kind of how it helps me keep doing stuff because like my brain will just be like, you're just gonna bother everybody. Don't do that, so that I have to like I do that. Um and it's in the beginning of the podcast, it was very much like a fake it till you make it kind of pushing through, but it's gotten a little easier. I Yeah, it's gotten a little easier. I don't know the right words for that, but it's like I've learned. I've built some pathways. It's The imposter syndrome is still there and the self-consciousness around talking because I am very isolated. So I don't get to, like every time I'm around somebody like a doctor or handyman or whatever, I'm like, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I just not around people a lot. But it yeah, it helps. It's good. I'm glad. I'm proud of myself that I did that. Um, so okay, I haven't talked about this yet, but I am working with an attorney regarding the mold issue. It's very early days. I signed some paperwork. Um, and just am putting information together for them in terms of like the stuff that was impacted. They gave me a list, but it doesn't apply to me. Like the stuff that was really impacted is like crafting, cosplay, puppets, like my graphic novels, and not my furniture or whatever, because I moved all that stuff downstairs. Some of my furniture, my dresser, one of my bookshelves, or both my bookshelves. But I just I don't know what to expect. I'm not an optimist when it comes to me being at the receiving end of someone else's accountability, because it's not really how the world works. Um, but I do have to say that I think my attorney should be giving me a little more of than, because they take 50%. I should be getting like another at minimum 5% because I'm really organized. Like, like I can tell from how they react that they're not used to dealing with somebody that's like organized and detailed and understands stuff. And I'm like, I should get more. I'm making it easier for them. They're not having to chase. I'm like making spreadsheets and doing the research and, but I did used to work for attorneys when I was younger, so it's partially just understanding that, but then also I just spreadsheet fucking everything. So like I'm gonna make a spreadsheet for the air quality stuff so that I can compare the monitors, the monitor that's in the HEPA filter and the monitor that I got. Because there's some discrepancies specifically with the T box, and I've been emailing with the company to understand that. But yeah, so if all goes well, there will be some compensation to help replace the things that I had to throw out. But the way that it works is they value everything um, used. So if your mattress got fucked up, they're gonna pay you the used price. But it gets better. It's a lot better than that. Um, they start the haggling at the used price to replace things. So they're already starting from a position of not making you right, not really making you right. And then they're going to haggle on that. That is abhorrent to me. That is immoral. It is fucking rude. I don't like it. Like start with like realistic, fair replacement cost for things and then haggle. But if you're already starting from a place of we're not going to make you right anyways, you're not going to be able to get, like buy the mattress that you had. You're going to have to buy one that somebody fucked on. Like, that's That's fucked up. Like, and I know like their big area is like sort of the pain and suffering if you have health issues and stuff. And that's kind of where they make up the difference. But I can't get any of my doctors to work with me. I've been to multiple doctors and I've been like, hey, things and stuff. And they're like, no, that other doctor can do it. And then that other doctor's like, I don't need to do that. And like, so, and I don't, my blood work and tests are always normal. Everything is always normal. It's like a thing. I mean, I'm taking autoimmune medication now, which by the way has been helping. Like I have a little more energy and I have less pain. But I have no, my blood work is perfect. There's no sign that I have an autoimmune condition, but the rheumatologist was suspicious because I have a lot of tendonitis in a lot of areas. And normally you would see tendonitis kind of in an area that you're overusing, not just because you exist. So he was like, maybe you're one of the 15% that has normal blood work. Um, but like my allergy tests are all non-responsive, but even the antibiotic ones, but I have a physical allergic reaction to most antibiotics, like a rash on my torso, a mild difficulty breathing, malaise, all of that stuff. Like multiple times it's happened. And but my blood work's all normal. So, you know, I can't get proof or support, and basically what my doctors say, like my ENT was like, well, we only test for this one thing and there are no tests for the other things. And we don't look at like chemicals or TVOX or anything. Those things can really have an impact and you can be very sensitive to them, but there's no tests for it. And I'm like, okay, but could we like establish that I have these sensitivities and reactions and stuff? I mean, I have significant expenses in my life that are revolve around like managing my environment. Like, that's kind of like my full-time freaking job, right? And there's no like record of that like on my medical record. There's no conversations around that with my doctors. There's nothing, and it's like when I look online, there's diagnosis that can be provided. There's like different types of specialists that can help with that. But none of them, I even went and saw an allergist explicitly to get on record. And he just was like straight up like, no, I'm not going to write a letter for you. And then I asked my chronic fatigue doctor for a letter and they wrote a letter, but it literally just says she has chronic fatigue. It doesn't say how environmental exposures can cause this issue to be worse or that stress. There was like nothing to give context to the situation. And then my primary, she's just very uncomfortable doing anything. So I can't even get the paperwork from PG&E, the utilities company, to get the medical discount. It's like a 5% discount, and nobody will fill that out. Nobody. They're always like somebody else will do it, and I can't. Like the doctors, they should be helping me figure out what's going on, but they should also support me in the things that I'm doing to manage my health because I'm doing their fucking job for them, and they're not. So I don't. I can. I'm so frustrated. It's bullshit, man. But yeah, so I don't even I can't I ran out of steam. Like I don't know where to go. I don't know how to get I don't I don't know who else to ask for that. So like then like I'm probably not going to get what I deserve in relation to the lawsuit because my doctors will not support me. And that just makes me resent them all the more. So I don't know, but that's kind of put me on like a path where I'm like, there's got to be a solution. There's got to be some sort of doctor, because like I'm not just having issues with getting support for this issue, for these symptoms or whatever. There is nobody. I have so many specialists. I have done so many tests. I have appointments pretty much every week. And I don't really have any answers, and I don't have anybody looking at my medical record as a whole. I don't have any doctor or provider that I can talk to about what I'm doing, what helps, what doesn't help, when I'm feeling worse and need help or need to try something or there's nothing. I don't have any meaningful involved care. And you're like, but Leigh, isn't that what your primary doctor's for? I guess not, because she just refers me out or tells me to see my specialists. Um, and I cannot get my brain around going to find another primary because they may not be any better or they could be worse. And I when you look up a primary online, it'll say they graduated from here and things, and they've worked at this place here in Ohio and then here in California and things and stuff. And sometimes they'll have like this primary focuses on blah, 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 like geriatric care or whatever. But there's really no information about like how comprehensive their care is. Do they take advantage of the Medicare program that will like pay you to spend an additional 40 minutes with a patient every month? Or do they, there's none of that. So it's like it's just like a crapshoot. You're just like, I'm gonna try this doctor. I'm gonna try this doctor. And it could take like a year to get in. So like, if they suck, then you're just like fucking out a year. And I think one, their website and information or whatever, there should be more information and there should be some process of compatibility. Even if I can't get access to the doctor to have a conversation and like say interview them, they have assistants. They can have like somebody that when you're interested in getting care from that doctor, you can like be like, okay, here are my concerns, blah, blah, blah. And that person can help establish compatibility to decide if you're a good fit or not, right? Because we're paying them and we're relying on them, and we should be able to make educated choices without wasting who knows how fucking long while actively suffering. It's very odd to me that there's not a better system for getting information about doctors. Like, I don't fucking care where they went to school. I care if they're good at their fucking job, period. Like, because sometimes people, they go to school for one specialty, like anesthesia, and then they just kind of slip into something else. So then, like, their school almost doesn't even matter, except for like, good for you, you went. Like you jumped through the hoops. Yeah, good poodle. I don't fucking care about that. I care about what they are doing, because there are people without medical degrees that I could probably have extremely comprehensive like conversations with about my medical record that would probably be more useful than most of my doctors. My therapist would say that I'm probably one of those people. She always says I should have like an honorary degree or something. And then my brain goes, I'm not that smart. But yeah. So anyway, the hiatus has ended, and you can tell because I am here just rattling off fucking dump truck worth of words at you. Um, I am slowly getting back into things, but as you can tell, I still have a lot on my plate. So what's happening now, as I'm starting to feel better because I'm keeping the windows open, is that I am trying to find a balance between doing the things like this and the streaming, and eventually, um, making content and stuff, including clowning. I had to throw out most of my clowning stuff, and I did. Several people sent me like makeup, some wigs, stuff like that. So I have materials to do that. Some of my other stuff like the corsets and tutus, I haven't been able to replace them. I haven't been able to replace my nose. My nose. But I have enough that I can get started. So hopefully I'll get to do that again, because it's been almost 2 years since the last time I clowned, which was fucking weird. Um, but I'm gonna get, I'm just gonna find this balance, and I'm gonna get this other shit taken care of, and hopefully I will stop having quite as much on my plate if we're not moving or having to move. And I won't really know if we're not moving until they get the estimate on the attic and decide if they're doing the work or not. So if they don't do the work, we will move. I don't want, but and that will put me back again. But uh, my hope is that we can stay put and I can just kind of slowly get back into things and start posting some content and making some clips and the podcast and things and stuff. And then I'll just be here again like I was. And I know that you guys miss me. So that's my hope, but my life is surprising. So we'll see how it actually goes. If something drastically changes or dramatically changes or very slowly changes, but still changes, then I will do another one of these. Um, but yeah, so thanks for hanging out with me and listening to me babble and just being generally like whatever. I feel so fucking narcissistic when I just talk about myself, but it's the fucking name of my podcast. Actually, oh my God, shut up. So, um, I, I, okay, okay. I'm getting ready to sign off, but I gotta say this. For me, the person being woven into the content is better. I enjoy that better. And so I'm going to do that because I'm an authentic person and me as this contenty making fucking ball of chaos, I got to be me. So, my details are going to be woven in. I mean, that's why when I do interviews with people, they aren't actually interviews, they're just conversations. I don't research people. I don't care if they're musicians or not. I'm not doing that. We're gonna have a conversation. I'm gonna ask some questions, and if there's shit they want to share, they can share that. But like, it's gonna be organic, and then you guys get to experience that. If it's not enough, I will have them on again. I you know and I that's what I want. That's what I want, even though there's that part of my brain that's like, that's dumb and you shouldn't do that. And every time I listen to somebody else's podcast, I'm like, your podcast is dumb because look at how organized their podcast is. But you know what? Those people have friends, they have editors, they have writers, they have friends. And I'm just me. I'm just doing this. So it's gonna be 187% just me. And this is me. I, I'm like a mix between Gonzo and Animal. And, maybe Beaker. I don't know. Beaker might. I always want to have some of the nerd, but then I never feel like I'm actually nerdy enough to be Beaker. But definitely a mix of Animal and Gonzo. So, like, even as a kid, I was like, there needs to be the puppet that's the awkward pervert and the um the chaos. But yeah. Anyway, again, thanks for hanging out. I will see you next week because once this is posted, I'm going to be back on schedule. Definitely, like, if you're interested in seeing any of the extra clips or anything like that, check out my Patreon. I do post some stuff that's Patreon specific. My patrons are kind of the only reason why I can do any of the stuff that I do, because I'm on disability and it, I the support is everything. It is enabling in all the best ways. And if you can't afford to support financially, you can follow for free. And I don't update there much, but it's still support. You can follow my Ko-Fi. You can follow me on social media. You can engage and you can share. And that is the ultimate riches right there. That is the ultimate fucking support, is like actually like watching, like if you go to YouTube and you're watching this on YouTube, if you watch all the way through and then you comment, you are telling YouTube I am awesome and that someone else should see my shit. If you just fucking skim through and you don't engage, you are telling the algorithm that I suck and no one deserves to be abused by my content and that I do not deserve attention. And that sounds really, really harsh, but it's literally how the algorithm works. And so, like, when you interact with stuff, be it mine or somebody else's, try to think about what your actions actually mean in terms of impact, because it isn't really just about us, right? So if you have a creator that you want to support, engage with their stuff. It doesn't have to be me. Just fucking, if you like somebody, support their shit. And if you don't like me, don't support me. That's fine. I respect that. But if you do, so anyway, I hope you guys have a good week. And you can email me or you can message me if you have any questions you would like me to answer in future episodes. If there's anybody, including yourself, that you would like to see on the podcast, I will take recommendations. I would interview almost every single person on the planet if I could, because I just think that people are interesting because they're people. We all have things that we share and things that are different, and it's all relatable or fascinating or disturbing or fun or whatever, right? It's, yeah. So I'm really serious about that. Like, if you would like to be on my podcast, I just, the only thing I ask is that you are in a quiet room and don't play with clicky stuff, because don't do that to my listeners. And what was the other one? Try to be mostly sober. Like, because like if you're like a little, so it's not obvious, so that you can be relaxed, that's cool. But if you're sloppy, I'm probably not gonna post it because gross. And I'm sorry if I don't sound accepting, but that shit makes me uncomfortable. I don't like it. Yeah. And keep an eye out for my other content, because I'm going to start posting other stuff as well. I'm going to get more active on TikTok and try to start rebuilding what I lost when I lost my account, and start posting stuff again on X. I have a mild spice account for people that want to see like an old lady being mildly spicy in a kind of awkward way, because she doesn't really know it, she's just her. Oh, and I'm going to be posting memes. It's like it's kind of like nachos. I'm going to be posting these memes that I really like, and then occasionally with throwing in some pictures of me with some mild spice. So it's sort of like the memes are the chaser, you know. All right, that's it, man. I'm going. I'm fucking done. Okay, bye. Thank you for hanging out and listening. A huge thank you to my patrons. I could not do this without you. Want to support my creative chaos and get access to exclusive content? Check out my Patreon. Have questions and/or interested in joining me for a conversation? Email me.